शुक्लांबरधरं विष्णुं शशिवर्णं चतुर्भुजं प्रसन्नवदनं ध्यायेत् सर्वविघ्नोपशान्तये सरस्वती नमस्तुभ्यं वरदे कामरूपिणी विद्यारम्भं करिष्यामि सिद्धिर्भवतु मे सदा गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णु गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुः साक्षात् परब्रह्म तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः. So, if all of you remember, last time we were looking at Dhanurvedam, the different types of arrows, bows, the different shooting techniques, the shooting postures, the different positions, and also with regards to the target. So how the target will be there, sometimes it will be a moving target, sometimes it will be a still target, and so on. So like this, there are different categories that we saw. Then there are different postures in which an arrow can be hit, like a few the bodily postures or the different finger holds, the way an arrow is drawn, and so on. So like this, all this till here we had seen. Now let us continue. So this is basically the first chapter of Dhanurveda Shastram that talks about the basis of Dhanurvedam, that is arrow, bow, the way how an archer should shoot an arrow, and so on. So let's proceed. Next is, now this is an archer who had he is a foreign archer, and using the techniques, it seems that whatever has been present, whatever has been mentioned in the Dhanurveda Shastram, he has tried all these different positions. Like for example, if you just look at the way he's shooting arrows, that is using one bow, he has shot 2 arrows, if you noticed very carefully. He shot 2 arrows, if you can see here. So all these things he does. Then he shoots an arrow wherein, now here, the second, wherein he's shooting an arrow, but from the opposite direction you have another arrow that comes and it breaks his arrow. So the same things that we had seen, when we are attacking, the enemy also will be attacking from the opposite side. So all such things have to be made a note of. So this particular archer, I cannot remember, I am not able to recollect his name. Just I was recollecting, I don't know. So some archers, so let me see if I get his name, I'll tell you next time. So what he did was, he had studied whatever has been mentioned in Dhanurveda Shastram and he has tried to practice all of that. So basically shooting 2 arrows together, then having a lot of targets, like 3 targets together. Now this is something, this way of shooting 3 targets together was used in the Sri Mahabharatam by Bharatiya. So I hope everyone is familiar with this name of Bharatiya. He is a character in the Mahabharata. He was a warrior and who had actually shot with 3 arrows together. So here the archer does it with 2, he sets up 3 targets, but then Bharatiya and
can you repeat the name?
Bharatiya.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. So he was an archer in Mahabharatam. Not, you cannot consider as a very important character, but mainly in archery we have his reference because he had shot 3 arrows together using one bow. That is at one particular time. So like this, different ways of techniques you have. That is, now just as he shot, if you saw, running, while he was running on the field or running in the place, wherever this is, while running also you try to shoot through arrows. So that is the, we had seen when a target is moving or when the archer himself is moving but the targets are still. So all these are different ways of practice. Then this person also tries a way with which Arjuna shot. So wherein you see the reflection of the fish in water and then you try to shoot an arrow. So all such different techniques this person tries. So why this part has been included here is to show that whatever has been mentioned in our Dhanurveda Shastram, there are many archers worldwide who have used these techniques in order to attain expertise. Now here if you see the way what he did here was, he used a weapon like a type of arrow in order to hit an opposite arrow coming. So it might not always be an bow and arrow that is there. It will be, so he has kept a mirror to see the reflection. Here you see with this type of arrow, he tries, or like a sword also, he hits back the arrow that comes. So like this, weapons also that came in, he tries to hit it with an arrow. So these are all different ways that have been told in which, it's an ad, okay. So these are different ways in which archers have used the way. So there is practical application of whatever has been mentioned. Now the different categories of fighting we have already seen last time. Dhanukarancha kuntancha khadgancha kshurika gada samambahu yudhyasyad evam eva yuni satha. Now you see the script is not proper. Samambahu yudhyam syad evam yudhyat sena tatha. Okay. So this is little the script, the font has an issue, and you can also consider that in earlier times, if you see, there used to be some symbols like this, but mainly it is due to the font being typed. So different types of fighting we have seen, using bow and arrow, using a gadha, using a spear, then hand wrestling, using a chakra, and also using the sword. So these are the different categories of fighting which are mentioned in the Dhanurveda Shastra, but mainly it highlights about using bow and arrow. Next. Now further, where exactly this Dhanurveda Shastram has been used. If you look at that, you have a verse in the Adi Parva of the Mahabharata. Mahabharata is divided into 18 Parvas. Just as Ramayana has got 7 Kandas, Srimad Bhagavatam has got 12 Skandas, similarly Sri Mahabharatam has got 18 Parvas in all. So Parvas is nothing but you can consider different sections. So out of that, in the Adi Parva, it is mentioned, Etaya Sankhya Hyasan Kuru Pandavasenayoho Akshauhinyo Dvijashreshtaha Pindita Ashtadashainatu. So in all, again there were 18. So 18 is a very significant number, at least with regards to the Mahabharata. So there were in all 18 Akshauhinis. What exactly is an Akshauhini we will see. So this has been mentioned in the Adi Parva. So what does an Akshauhini consist of? In all there were 18, 7 belong to the Pandavas and 18 belong to the Kauravas. So basically if you see, the Kurukshetra battle also that took place, that was not on a very fair side, because the Pandavas were given less, it was not equal also, less number of Akshauhinis, but still, even though everything was in the favor of the Kaurava enemy, Adharma had to fall about. So there was a lot of injustice, not a fair play that was there, but still, only the Pandavas won. Akshauhinyaha parimanam narashvaratha dantina. This has been mentioned. Nara ashva dantina, ratha dantina. So what exactly consists of an Akshauhini, that has been mentioned in the Adi Parva. Nara ashva ratha danti. Nara man, ashva horses, ratha chariots, danti is elephant, another name for elephants. So Nara is infantry, Ashwa cavalry, Ratha chariotry, Danti elephantry. So these are the 4 pillars of an Akshauhini. An Akshauhini consists of all these 4. There are certain numbers also. What consists exactly of an Akshauhini? That also has been mentioned later. So all this reference you get in the Adi Parva of Mahabharatam. So now this is somewhat similar to the game of chess that we have. And it seems that chess has one game which has been, you can say it has originated in India. That's the reason many people, we do play chess. So chess is something which has originated in India. It was known by the name of Chaturangam. Chaturangam was a game that was played. It is another name for chess. So it has come mainly from the Mahabharata times, after the Akshauhini concept that is there. Next. Now if you see below, you can see some points, 1 point, 3 points, 3 points, 5 points. So nowadays I think in chess you don't have such points that are denoting. You just hit, you just play with all the coins that are there. But in those times, the way of playing chess was also quite different, and used to get points if a particular horse or a chariot was being used. So there were little rules have been different. That's the reason why you have the mention of points here. Next is एको रतो गजश्चैको नराः पंचपदातयः त्रयश्च तुरगास्तक्ष्ण्यैः तत्सैः patiरित्यभिधीयते. Meaning, what exactly is used, how an army is constructed is 1 chariot, 1 elephant. So basically, like if you have a leader also, so like a senapati we call, he will have this under, that is 1 senapati, 1 commander in chief, he will have all these things with him. That is 1 chariot, 1 elephant, 5 foot soldiers and 3 horsemen. So this is what used to consist. It used to be there with 1 senapati or 1 commander in chief, and this is, you can say, Senamukha it is called. So this is considered to be, you can say, Patti. Patti is what? It is the smallest unit of the battalion. So one second. So the smallest unit is this Patti. Patti consists of 1 chariot, 1 elephant, 5 foot soldiers and 3 horsemen. This is 1 Patti, which is considered to be the smallest unit of an army. 3 Pattis make a Senamukha. 3 Senamukhas make a Gulma. 3 Gulmas make a Gana. 3 Ganas make a Vahini. 3 Vahinis make a Prathana. 3 prathanas make a chamu, 3 chamus make a ankini, and like this 3 ankinis make one akshauhini. So this is how the calculation of akshauhini has been mentioned. So you see there is so much of information that is there. Now you can do the own calculations. You know the calculation of one patti. So just imagine what will be the calculation of one akshauhini. So it is very interesting. At the same time, we must remember that these are all so much of deep study and so many concepts have been mentioned in our own scriptures, our own texts that are there. Only thing is that we don't know much about that, but now at least we have a basic idea. So what exactly is an akshauhini? So akshauhini in all, they have done the calculation. 21,870 elephants, 21,870 chariots, 65,610 horsemen, and 1,09,350 foot soldiers. So this is the calculation of one akshauhini. Like this, 7 akshauhinis the Pandavas had and 11 akshauhinis the Kauravas had. So you just imagine how big the Kurukshetra battlefield would have been there. Those have gone to if you have place in Haryana, maybe you can see. So if so many people have to even be there in the battlefield at one time, that itself shows how deep it is, how big it has to be there. Okay. Next. So this is how the construction of an akshauhini. This also has been mentioned in Dhanurveda Shastram. Further, so now in all, for both you have the calculation. So in all, if you consider for the Pandavas, they have done the calculation for that. So in all, for the Pandavas, they had about more than 1 lakh elephants, 1 lakh chariots, more than 4 lakh horsemen, and 7 lakh foot soldiers. For the Kauravas, it was more than 2 lakh elephants, 2 lakh chariots, 7 lakh horsemen, and more than 12 lakh foot soldiers. So this was roughly the calculation that has been made for both the Pandavas and the Kaurava armies respectively. Next. Now there were other constructions of a army also. What is that? This is a Padathika. Padathika, if you consider, it is 12, you can say 12 foot soldiers that are there. So basically it is a leadership. So Padathika is at the basic level wherein one soldier is there. Then a person, that is foot soldiers basically. 12 Padathikas, they are under the control of one Ashwarohi. Ashwarohi is one horseman. Basically that Ashwarohi will be leading his team of 12. Then one Gaja, there is a person sitting on a Gaja, will be the leader of 12 Ashwarohis. Then the next level is one Ardharathi. Ardharathi is one who rides a chariot. He will have all these people under his control. That is one Gaja, 12 Aksharohis and 12 Padathikas under his control will be the Ratha. Ardharathi. Ardharathi is one who rides a chariot. Basically like a Senapati. Next you have Rathi. Now what is the difference between Ardharathi and Rathi? So Ardharathi, basically you can consider like there are many people who ride chariots, right, in a battlefield. Say for example, again you take the example of Mahabharata. You had many people with the chariots also. But then maybe the eldest or the one who is the most valorous, he will be given the title of the, you can say the main commander-in-chief or the Senapati and so on. So all the others, though they have their chariots also, they will all be under the control of this one Rathi who is there. So 12 Ardharathis are in the control of one Rathis. All of them ride in chariots only. Next you have Atirathi, something called Atirathi, Maharathi, Ati Maharathi. Like this there are different designations depending on the war that is there, Maharathi and so on. So Maharathi, if you see, he has almost 24 Atirathis, you can say 24 Ardharathis under his control. So depending on the size of the army, the title also keeps increasing. So if you have 6 people under you, 12 people under you, 24 people under you, depending on that, the designation of the commander-in-chief also starts changing. That also varies. Further, now this all consisted of war ethics. That is, with this the first chapter of Dhanurveda Shastram ends. Next you have the second chapter, that is strategy of the war. Now if a war has to be started, some strategies, some rules have to be followed. So what exactly is that? That is mentioned in chapter number 2 of Dhanurveda Shastram. What is that? Now whenever a war has to wage in, there are three things. One is defense, that is when an enemy attacks, we should be able to defend them properly. Second is, now defense is one part, when we are defending, we should also be able to attack them back. Third is, ultimately once defense is going on, attack is taking place, at the same time our ultimate goal, ultimate aim should be to attain victory. So we have to build in strategies in order to achieve all these three. That is, first is defense, then is to attack, and finally to achieve victory. So proper planning, proper strategies have to be formed in order to attain victory. So this strategy is nothing but vyuham. Vyuha is like a goal or an aim that we have. So that has to be formulated properly, that has to be pre-planned. Otherwise, we will not be successful. Suddenly, okay, an enemy attacks all of a sudden, I have to wage a war, it will not happen. Ultimately, it will lead to your defeat only. So if you have to attain victory, we have to always be prepared. That has been highlighted here. Further is Dandavyuhascha Shakataha, Varaho Makarastata, Suchivyuhota Garudaha, Padmavyuha, Dayomataha. Now there are different vyuhas, that is different strategies. So basically now just as you have the Chakravyuham that is formed in the Mahabharata war in order to confuse Ashwathama, the same way here also there are different vyuhas. So basically a Dandavyuham is nothing but a formation that takes place. That is a lot of soldiers or maybe the horse chariots, whatever, everyone tries to be there like a staff. Staff is like a spear, like a shape. Next there is something called Shakata Vyuham. Shakata Vyuham is chariot, in the shape of a chariot. Varaha Vyuham, in the shape of a boar. Matsya Vyuham, like a fish. So in that shape they are there, the army stands in that way so that the enemy cannot attack them. It becomes difficult. So from which side the enemy will attack, the army will attack, we don't know. So it is a bit confusing for the enemy. So therefore different formations are made. This is Vyuham. So this is like a strategy. So one is normal war using weapons, that is there. But if you have wars, like for example, again the Mahabharata Yuddham, there are going to be tricks and you can say some magic here. It's not magic, you cannot call it as magic, but tricks. Nobody is going to play a fair war, right? First step is we will try with our fair wars, but if everything fails, like the Kauravas did the Chakravyuham, in the case of Ashwathama, they tried to confuse him. When they felt that there was no other way in which we could attack this person, they formulated this idea. So forming strategies is also something very important. Always things cannot be done in the usual way, therefore certain strategies have to be formulated. So that is through these different shapes that are there. Next, you have one example of the Varaha Vyuham. Varaha Vyuham is a boar. So basically, now the boar has been just drawn for your understanding. You see there are mountain ranges on both the sides. So the mountain and the army will be situated at the base of both the mountains. Few soldiers will be at the top. So basically if you see from the front, like the tip, the horn of the mouth of the boar, from there like a triangular shape, a few soldiers will lead. From the back, the tail part of the boar, a few soldiers will lead. And then on both the sides you have mountains. So on the base also there will be a few soldiers. So it becomes difficult. So this is Varaha Vyuham. So on both the sides, on opposite sides you have slopes. Then on the tail part of the boar you have certain soldiers who are leading. On the mouth front side you have few soldiers who are leading. So basically it forms this is a Varaha Vyuham. So it tries to confuse the army. From all four sides they attack, especially it becomes difficult to wage a war in a hilly mountainous region. But still, how it has to be done securely, that has been mentioned. So this is in shape of a Varaha. It can be anything like this. It can be sometimes a Matsya and so on. So depending on the need that is there, different vyuhas, different strategies are formed. Next is this is Padma Vyuham that was formed in the Mahabharata Yuddha. You see all these soldiers, they were there in this way. Padma is nothing but like a lotus also. So basically in the form, you can call it as Chakra Vyuham also. But then Padma Vyuham, wherein things start going round and round like a V. So like the different petals of a lotus you can consider. It's Padma Vyuham, Chakra Vyuham. So here you see, this is what is Padma Vyuham. Padma Vyuham is nothing but, now you can see how the army keeps. Chakra Vyuham is something which is in a circular shape. Avyuk, do you want to say something? Avyuk?
Yes, I actually have a doubt.
Huh.
So, the Padma Vyuham and the Chakra Vyuham, like they are same thing or are
Same,
they
it
different?
is the same thing. Only thing the names are a bit different. That's it. Mostly in easy language, common language, you call it as a Chakra Vyuham. But the original name that has been mentioned in the scripture that is there, that is Padma Vyuham. That's it.
Okay.
Yeah. Now you see, all of you, if you see this now, just look for a minute. How the things are moving, right? These are actually soldiers who move, the blue color lines. For some time, if you look at this, head starts paining. So because now you see in the middle circle that is there, everything is going in a clockwise direction. Next circle anti-clockwise, again clockwise, again anti-clockwise. You have to pass through this and move inside. It becomes very, very difficult. So therefore, entry is impossible. Level of difficulty is again difficult because not everyone is moving in the same direction. There is a clash of going in clockwise, anti-clockwise directions. Then it is rotating. So one person continuously it is moving, right? It's not that just walking. So in a circular direction, obviously when we go roundabout, our head starts turning. Psychologically, now you look at it, I told you head starts paining, right? That is psychologically it becomes very difficult. For this you can do one thing. I'll tell you one exercise to do. You do your right hand, you try to, no, now it is very difficult, I don't know if anyone can do this. Right hand you try to rotate it clockwise, and your left hand you try to move it anti-clockwise. That is both your fists. For some time we can do, sometime we cannot do. Or one more exercise that we do is, you can close your fists, the right hand should go ahead and the left hand should go backwards. So how we do those rotating exercises? You want to rotate, roll both your hands towards the front, it is okay. Roll one hand towards the front, another hand towards the back. You see, psychologically it is not possible for most of us. It becomes difficult. So these are all some exercises that are told, but then psychologically it is little difficult. So things when they are there in the same direction, it is easy. But then like this, when you have a Chakra Vyuham or a Padma Vyuham, it is very difficult. And ultimately, even though you enter it, to come out of that. So here, if Ashwatthama, he was there inside, it is very, very traumatic and difficult to come out of that. So exit is almost impossible. So this is one example of Padma Vyuham. Next. Like this, there are different vyuhas that are there. Now, all the Kauravas and Pandavas, they had used different vyuhas on all the different days. So they just did not plainly fight a battle. They had their different strategies also. So 18 days the war took place. On all the 18 days, both the armies, Kauravas, Pandavas, they used certain vyuhas. Sarvotto, Danda Vyuha, Vajra Vyuha, Garuda Vyuha, Krauncha Vyuha. So Garuda is in the shape of an eagle, Krauncha shape of a hawk, and so on. So like this, different things were being used by both the parties. So like this, they gave their best. So therefore, the Mahabharatam is considered to be a text that talks about how a war, or it gives a lot of apt information. Some references are there also in the Dhanur Vedam, but mainly apt information about how a war should be waged, how it should be fought, what are the different war strategies, and so on. The Mahabharata highlights these points also in detail. Now with this, what we get to know is, when we simply claim that epics like the Ramayana and Mahabharata are false, they don't seem to be false because of these references that are there. If things were simply false and fiction, then we would not have so much of information that has been mentioned in detail. That to what are the vyuhas that they form. Somewhere in history, so it is all history, right? That's why both Ramayana and Mahabharata fall in the category of itihasas. So I'm not saying that all of you are claiming it false, or we don't have to fight to claim that they're true or so. But then whenever certain debates come wherein something is false or true, when so much of detailed information is there, of course research and everything is still going on, we cannot simply claim something to be false, because if it is some fiction or imagination, things will not be mentioned so much in detail. Day wise, if some information is given, that too based on war strategies and all in detail, surely something would have taken place, and that's how it has been mentioned. So mainly labeling things as it is false or something never happened. Just because we don't know, just because we have not done our research properly, doesn't mean that we should call it false. But through most of the references and the evidence that we have, like this is one of those evidences that is there, we cannot claim the epic to be false at all. In fact, it should be something which has definitely happened if you have so much of information. Next is, you also have some parts that are included in the Dhanurveda Shastram. So Dhanurveda Shastram, apart from the different weapons that are to be used, it highlights on the different war strategies. It also talks about a few topics which are not directly related to warfare, little you can say indirectly, or it's like the side topics. That is training war animals. Now the animals, be it horses, elephants, camels, whomever we use for the war, or even the soldiers who are there, they should be provided with proper training. It's not that maybe a random horse you just pick up from a stable and send it to war, right? No. Even those who know, even in the country also, the president's house, you have a few horses that live in. They are provided with proper training. Or maybe you have the racing horses who are there, or the elephants that are used for certain maybe like temple processions or even wars in those times. They are given proper training. They are not similar to normal horses and elephants, right? So therefore, training war animals, little bit information on that also is mentioned in the Dhanurveda Shastram. Then training wartime injuries, that is providing at least with immediate first aid. Now, if there is a war, ultimately there is going to be mass destruction, mass injuries, lot of deaths, lot of people are going to die and so on. So at least immediately basic knowledge of first aid and basic some treatment. Now mostly if, say for example, an iron weapon hits, what should be done, an arrow hits, what should be done, in a particular part, if something hits on the hand, what should be done, on the chest, what is the treatment. So like this basic information how to treat war injuries, that is also mentioned in Dhanurveda. Next, some training strategies. That is, if an enemy attacks from behind, how you should combat. From a side, how the attack should take place. Someone comes from up, like I told you in the Rama Ravana Yuddha. Even Meghanatha, for that matter, he had powers wherein he could vanish all of a sudden, he used to appear all of a sudden. Such things are there, so how to overcome and fight all this. This is mentioned in the Dhanurveda Shastra. Further, so these are also some topics that are covered. Now the last part that is there. So we have seen first weapons and training. Then you have army construction, how the army is constructed. Then it is from below to top. Okay, I think I told you the other way around last time. First is weapons and training, which we have already seen how different weapons, arrows, bows, swords and so on are used. Then how the army is constructed, that is the different akshauhinis and so on. Next is certain strategies wherein you have the construction of vyuhas. And last is war ethics. War ethics is certain rules which we have to always remember while we fight a war or while we do anything. We have certain rules, niyamas to follow. So war ethics forms a part of that. So what is that? Let's have a look. So war ethics that are there is the level. Now if you see in the left hand side picture, you have one who's on land, other one who's in the sky, and one who's there on the chariot, and the other opposite person is not having a chariot. This is an illegal. It should not be fought that way. The person should have both the resources together. Only then things should be done. So like this, these are certain niyamas. But now the Mahabharata Yuddham, if you see, it has broken a few rules. Like for example, you will have a question. Karna was there on the ground. His chariot's wheel was struck. So then how Arjuna shot an arrow? Krishna himself told him to do that. So when there is no other option, dharma, if they don't fight dharma war, we have to also change our ways. Now that doesn't mean that if someone else is evil also, we have to also do that. But then there was no other way in which Karna could be killed, so that was like an exception. And that's the reason Krishna told him, you have given your best, there's no other way, then you have to do it. So these are certain exceptions, but apart from that, there are certain ethics that we have to follow. Like you have also animals. If you see on the right hand side, certain animals are used for attacks. So if an animal gets injured also, proper treatment, everything should be given. So that is just as we treat and heal soldiers or people who are defeated in the war or they attain victory, similarly animals also should be provided with proper treatment. Next. Who should not be attacked? Suptam prasuptam unmattam yakacham shastravarjitam balam striyam deenavakyam dhavantam naivadyatayet brahmanarte gavarthe va srinam balavadeshu cha pranatyagaparo yastu sarve mokshamavapniyat. So these These 6 people should never be attacked. It's an unconscious enemy, a person who has fainted and fallen. Second is an unarmed enemy who doesn't have weapons to fight back. Next is a woman. Then an enemy, if he has surrendered, then that person should not be attacked. Retreating enemy. And a child. So these are all 6 people who should never be attacked. Then last was Brahmanarte Gavartheva. It is a martyr, a person who dies in the war. When will he attain moksha? That is, how will he turn out to be a martyr? Who dies in the battlefield, who protects the priests, women, children, cows, his country. That is, who puts in his best in order to win over. Such a person will attain moksha. This has been mentioned in the Dhanurveda Shastra. Next. Now a modern form of warfare. Kalaripayattu. Kalaripayattu, it is believed that Lord Shiva himself has passed on this knowledge to sage Parashurama, who is there in the middle, and that's how even till date many people, especially it is popular in South India, but still I think now it has emerged as a form of art that many people learn. Kalaripayattu, that is martial arts, a form of martial arts. So it has emerged from, you can say, like from the Dhanurveda Shastram told by Lord Shiva himself to Parashurama. So that's how the knowledge has been passed on. So self-defense, martial arts, and even Dhanurveda Shastram also has got its reference to the Kung Fu that is played in Nepal and places like that, when you have monks, Buddhist monks who practice this. So I think that Kung Fu Karate, which some people do, that is basically, it was told by the person propounding Bodhidharma. And Bodhidharma, he was a monk in India, Buddhism. He stayed in a cave, it seems, in India for about 9 years, as you can see the information. And it was there in the cave, there, like in the left side you can see the idol, what is there in the cave. He lived there, so that's how a statue has been built, and he was the one who gave a lot to, he propagated this Kung Fu form of martial art. So we have like this, from the, why this has been mentioned is, from the Dhanurveda Shastram you have different martial art forms, ways of warfare. So in today's times you don't have wars that take place much. Not every one of us, we don't go and fight a war, but then these principles are applicable. You can see, everyone can see my screen, right?
Ma'am, we lost the
Actually,
presentation
you can't
mode.
see.
It's not in presentation mode anymore. We can see the screen.
Sorry?
Yes.
You can see, right? I don't know, something happened, I got a
We are
message.
able to see.
Very
Yeah, I'm
nice.
able to see.
Oh,
We can't see the screen. We can only hear you.
why I have shared my screen?
Thumbnail of the presenter. It's not being
Just check, I think there you can, if you seen the options, you can see my name coming twice, right? So just pin my screen. Yeah, most of you can see, but in case it is not there, you just pin my name. If you pin, you have an option of pin, PIN pin. In that the screen will be visible, right? Most of you, if you have joined in from a, you can say, I think now it is fine, right?
Now it is okay.
Okay, so maybe there was some error, I don't know. So in case sometimes you join from a mobile also, little it might happen, or for a long time if there is, I have just kept the screen presenting, sometimes it happens. So therefore you can, if you join from a mobile, you cannot see the screen properly, you just go to the list of names, list of the participant names, you can see my name, you just pin it. Okay, so from this traditional form of Dhanurveda Shastram, you have two other, there are many other martial art forms. Most popular are this the Kalaripayattu form that is there, and also Kung Fu, which has its origin even in other faiths also, like Buddhism and so on. So the basis for all of this was Dhanurveda Shastram. We had people who have studied this. Till date, there are archers who follow, or whatever, even today modern archery has certain aspects. The same thing has been mentioned even in the original Dhanurveda Shastra. Okay, so with this topic of Dhanurveda Shastra comes to an end. Okay, so could everyone get a basic idea of Dhanurveda Shastram? Yes.
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 So now let's start with the next topic. Now the next topic that is there is 24 Gurus from Sri Mahabhagavatam. Bhagavata Purana. So in all we have already seen what are Puranas, 18 Puranas in all. Out of that, one of the most popular Puranas is the Bhagavata Purana. In that there are about 24 gurus that are mentioned. Yes, Veena ji, over doubt. Veena R.
Yes, Lakshmiji. I just wanted to understand, I guess Krishna also gave a couple of Akshonis to Kauravas, right? So can you let me know what the number was?
Number was in all 11. I think he had handed over almost more than 4 or 5, or I think 7. I'm not very sure of the number, but Krishna has handed over his entire Narayani Sena that is there. That's how you can say the Pandavas had less number of Akshahinis and Kauravas had more. So why Kauravas had more was Krishna had handed over the extra, his entire Narayani Sena to the Kauravas. So basically you don't calculate it in the calculation of Akshahinis that is there. But then when he goes and asks the question that you want Narayana or Narayani Sena, Arjuna chooses Duryodhana chooses Narayani Sena. So that sometimes is not there in the calculation of Akshahinis. It is just that he handed over his Sena. That's it. Yeah.
Okay. And another thing was the Padma Vyuha is the same as Chakra Vyuha.
Chakravyuha, yes. So basically, the original name was Padma Vyuha. Then in easy language, if you see, it looks like a chakram in wheel. So that's how in the colloquial language it has become like a Chakravyuha. And very commonly also we know the same thing. But then the name, so both names you can call. In the Dhanurveda Shastram for the Chakravyuha, the name that is there is Padma Vyuha. That's it.
Okay. So Abhimanyu got entrapped in that instance.
Yes,
right?
yes. The
That
Chakravyuha he got caught there. Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Next is so the next topic that we are going to see is the 24 gurus from Sri Bhagavatam. Now, why this topic I felt that it should be included was this, apart from the religious aspect also, Sri Bhagavatam has got certain gurus which have been told gurus are to be respected and so on. Here what has been highlighted is these gurus are not normal human beings, they are gurus from nature. So through this topic, what the Lord tries to highlight, and this it is a part of Avadhuta Gita from Srimad Bhagavatam. You also have Lord Dattatreya talking about this in a few, I think, Guru Bodham or Datta Bodha, I think some text in Marathi language also. Anyone, you know the name of it? Anyone reads it? I think it is Datta Bodha. What is that? Any Maharashtrians? You know it? I think it is Datta Bodha. Okay. So that is on every Thursdays also. Sometimes we read that. So in that also you have the mention of these 24 gurus. So Lord Dattatreya was the one. Lord Dattatreya is an avatara of Vishnu Trimurti. He represents all the three gods, Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva. You have Datta Guru, who is worshipped mainly in Maharashtra, central part of India. But in general also we have temples for Dattatreya and so on. So Srimad Bhagavatam also talks about 24 gurus, and it is called, that chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam is called Avadhuta Gita. So what we get to, so the main topic is, apart from the religious aspect I told you, from nature and from things around us, from people around us, and from, you can say, from each and everything that is there is something which we get to learn. It's just our perspective, how we open our eyes. So before we just plainly say, for example, you see a tree also, we pluck some flowers, pluck some leaves, flowers, we put it on the ground, right? And you see mud, we just throw mud here and there. You see a small child, we just ignore what the child speaks. I'll give you one example. A small child, how it behaves is, for 1 minute it cries, right? It's very stubborn, it wants something, it cries. But say for example, after a few minutes, it starts laughing as if nothing happened, right? Maybe 5 minutes back it was crying for something, but 5 minutes later, as if nothing happened, it forgets everything and starts laughing. So what you get now here, if you look at this example, it seems to be quite silly and stupid. And what is this in this? It's this child's nature. But from this, if you look, there is a learning perspective. For elders, what is that? Is many times what happens is, even if the thing is very minor, thing is very minute, it doesn't have an impact at all, but still we keep thinking about that. So even though good things, even though happy and positive things are happening, we keep thinking about the same thing. 25 years back he told me something. 50 years back when I was in school, someone came and pinched me. Till date I remember that person. Whenever he comes, I see him on the road, I change my path. So these are all small things. Or even small arguments take place. Lifelong we don't keep ties, we don't maintain relationships with people. So these are some qualities which we get to learn from a child. Now this doesn't mean that we forget each and everything. This child's nature to get distracted, so therefore it forgets. But then maybe few, you can say very futile minor things which we can almost ignore. If we had ignored in the first instance, it would have not led us. It would have not led to destruction. But then what we do is we hold on the same thing, and then that's how we lose out on many things. Even if things are happy, even if good things are happening, still we stick on to the evil things, stick on to the bad things, and that is ultimately we lose out on good things also. So these are few things which we get to learn from a child. I just give you a small example. But now out of this, now you might have a question saying that whatever you gave an explanation, that is very good, but I don't look at a child like this. It's so normal, right? So it just depends on everyone's perspective. This topic from Srimad Bhagavatam says that it's just the way you look at things. So like very common example, glass of water, you fill it half, someone says half filled, someone says half empty. So it's, both are correct. It's just our perspective that is there. So the way we look at things, the way we accept things, that is very, very good. Say for example, one more example, at the age of 60 or 70, if someone asks, describe your life in 2 minutes. Maybe if I ask all of you, 30 people here, till date, whatever is your age, you ask what you have done in the last so many years. Maybe now, few of you will say, you will list out all the good things that happened with you. Few of you will say only the bad things that happened with you. Few of you will say, no, nothing much, I don't want to speak anything, right? Few of you will say, no, everything went on good, but I've just accepted how things came in. A fifth person may tell everything so elaborate, in my first year of life, I did this, second year of life, I did this, full detailed information he might give. So, out of this, what happens is, looking at the way each one speaks, now maybe the way I speak also, all of you will have some, you can say some mindset, right, about, oh, she speaks so and so, so her nature might be like this. We make some interpretations. So this is something wherein our outlook or the way we look at things matters. The same thing is highlighted. So through all these examples, what I meant is, you might feel that looking at nature, I don't feel like learning anything. That's your personal choice. But then, Dattatreya or through Srimad Bhagavatam, what has been highlighted is, through nature also there are many things which we can see, which we can learn. But for that, we must have that perspective. If you just consider an earth to be round, it is round. Whereas you consider earth to be goddess earth, she has been sustaining life on her, and you get something to learn from her, and you consider her to be auspicious, you consider her to be a teacher. So it's just the way how we look at things. So belief and faith is something which has to be here. Okay, so let's start looking at the topic now. 24 gurus from nature. Those who have the Sri Bhagavatam, you can refer to that also. So 24 gurus in nature, as told by Dattatreya in Avadhuta Gita. So the Guru of Gurus is Dattatreya, who is considered to be the son of Atri and Anasuya. And he is believed to be, as I told you, Trimurti, that is an incarnation of all the three gods, Brahma, Vishnu and Shiva, and he is referred to be the prime or the chief Guru that is there. Now, as I told you, this reference of 24 Gurus has been mentioned in various texts, like in the Datta Bodha, Guru Bodha text in Marathi literature, then you also have it in Sri Bhagavatam. Like this, there are one or two texts. So the order, the 24 Gurus are the same. The order in which the names are mentioned, that can be little different. Okay, so this, whatever is there in this slide, we will stick to this. The order can go, that is the chronology, can go a bit up and down depending on the text. Okay, so first one, Dattatreya, it says that, he had a conversation with a particular king, and the king questions, who is your guru, from where did you learn all this? And then he tells that I have about 24 gurus who are there, and all of them are from nature itself. So I don't have to go and seek out gurus or have some excuses that I don't have a guru. So nature only tries to teach me. So this is the words from Sri Bhagavatam. पृथिवी वायुराकाश आपो अग्निश्चन्द्रमा रविः कपोतः अजगरः कपोतो जगरः सिन्धुः पतङ्गो मधुकृद्गजः मधुहा हरिणो मीनः पिङ्गला कुररोर्भकः कुमारी शरकृत्सर्प ऊर्णनाभिः सुपेशकृत् एते मे गुरवो राजन् चतुर्विंशतिराश्रिताः शिक्षावृत्तिभिरेतेषाम् अन्वशिक्षमिहात्मनः. From the Bhagavata Puranam, 11th Skanda, 11th chapter, this reference comes wherein Dattatreya mentions 24 gurus around me, and he tells the king that I've learned valuable lessons of my life from these 24 gurus. Further now, obviously, like all of us, the king is also confused, and then Dattatreya starts his elaborate explanation how from each one of them he has learned something. The 24 gurus are mentioned here. earth, python, courtesan, air, sea, eagle, sky, moth, child, water, honeybee, girl, moon, elephant, snake, sun, deer, pigeon, fish, and wasp. So let's look at each of these. What he gets to learn from this, just his perspective, maybe we can also apply it. First is earth. He says that I learned from the earth the art of tolerance and doing one's duty, patience and forgiveness. How come? Earth, if you see, every day, earth is continuously rotating around the sun. It is revolving around the sun, it is rotating around itself. Every day we stamp on her, every day you hit her, every day what all we do, right? You stamp, you hit, and some people we fight, we make her dirty, you till the land, what all we do. But still, earth never ever she gives, right? Until and unless there is some natural disaster like an earthquake, wherein we feel the wrath of nature. So whatever we do with her, she is still tolerant, she is still bearing. So that's the reason why we have to always chant the words that is there. Samudravasane Devi Parvatastana Bhushite Vishnupatne Namastubhyam Padasparsham Kshamaswame. Once we get up in the morning, this shloka is always chanted, meaning that whenever by mistake also if we hit our leg hit someone, we immediately ask for forgiveness, right? This is what we have been taught. So the earth we are stamping her every day, there is no other way, but then at least we must seek for forgiveness. So these are few qualities which we get to learn from the earth. Just as she is tolerating everything, whatever we do, you do good things, you do evil things, whatever you do, she has the nature of forgiveness. So this is something which Dattatreya says that I have learned from Mother Earth. That's the reason we call her Mother Earth, right? So one can learn patience and forgiveness from the earth, he says. Next. Second is air. Air, it passes through everything, but it is not attached to anything. That is, everywhere air is there, but you cannot see it, you cannot hold air, right? Someone will say, I am holding air. If you hold air, that is ultimately if you hold your breath, sometime you can hold, after that you have to leave it, right? So just as air. So you see, even the way of looking at things now, how much we want to practice it, how much we will take out of this, that is not important, but the way things are told, this is something which we get to take back, right? So like even from air also, can we look at something like this? Can we look with this perspective? This is what we get to see here. Air is something which we don't even value air, right? But air is such an important part. Wind or air, we are breathing air. We cannot see air, we don't value air, right? We can still value water, and also we don't do, but still at least we can save water. Can we save air? We cannot do. We don't even value air, we are not even thankful to Vayu, right? But that air is such an important part. If air stops, breathing stops, person falls down dead, right? So air is something which is present everywhere, but we don't even value that, but it is so important. And Dattatreya says, I learned this quality, though it is present everywhere, it passes through everything, still it is not attached to anything. I want to be like this, I want to be free, but at the same time, whatever is my goal, I do work towards that, but I am not attached or I am not attracted towards discriminations. How you can interpret it to your life is, now you see, there are few people amongst us also, there might be, we always have complaints, right? Now if someone tells us you do something, we'll have 10 excuses ready. No, I cannot do this, whole world is doing like this, there are so many distractions, there are so many problems. So before doing one thing, we remember maybe 10 problems, right? Now this is one thing that I have to do, but this is a list of problems that I have which will not help me in doing this. So instead of that, why look at something? So things are going to be there, but some people, they say no, society is only like this, people are changing, youngsters are born evil, they don't listen, such things do come in, right? It's just things are going to be there. Now the entire world is going to speak evil. Now also say for example, till 11:30 you are listening to this, maybe 11:45 when you might hear a bad news, or you yourself might get into a fight with someone. So it can be anything, right? Good, bad, both things will be there. So like air, we have to also pass through everything. Maybe you go about on the road, you meet a good person, you feel very happy, right? You go to a good place, maybe for a vacation or something, you feel very happy. But while coming back, maybe you meet two people who are fighting on the road, or maybe you yourself meet with someone and you start fighting. Anything can happen. So maybe few minutes back everything was good, suddenly life changed, you went into something evil. Then you sit and blame, no, the world is like that, people come and fight. So at that time, what we do is we forget the good experiences that we have. We blame only the bad things. So nobody can say that only good will happen. Like Rama, best example. Vinashakale viparita buddhihi. Just as it comes when he goes behind the golden deer. When the time is against us, that is, it's not that we have to only blame destiny, but then Rama also at that time he knew that such a deer never existed. But did he do it purposely then? He did not do it on purpose. In spite of Lakshmana warning him, still he felt okay. If it is not a real deer, if it is an asura or something, I will kill it anyway. If it is a real deer, I will bring it for Sita. Sita anyway doesn't ask anything. So first time she's asking, I should not do like this. So from his inner consciousness, Rama knew that such a creature does not exist. But at that time, maybe he lost his, you can say, his thoughts properly. His mind was not working well, and his attention also was diverted that he should fulfill the wish of Sita. That's it. So he himself, on the basis of the Ramayana, this line comes, Vinashakale viparita buddhi. There are certain things. That's the reason why we say, right? No, I don't know why I said like this. Or later we realize, I don't know why at that time I did like that. Now I regret. So like this, if it has happened even in the case of Rama, what to talk about all of us. So nobody can escape anything. Things will always happen. We have to pass on through everything. We have to experience. But it is in our hands to decide how much impact that can have on us. So like that Dattatreya says, like the air, let me be free. Now here attachment in the sense, you don't have to be influenced by everything. Two people argue, you don't have to take the full day, you keep thinking about the same thing, you are wasting your time, right? Instead ignore, go ahead. Of course it is human nature to have an impact. For some time you will be affected, maybe for a few minutes, for an hour or two. We keep thinking about that, you feel bad, but you must be able to come out of things. So this is something which Dattatreya says, that like the air, I have learned this quality, though it is present everywhere, it passes through everything, still it is not attached, still it is free. So I must also learn to be, but at the same time I should have a focus on my goals. Third is sky. This is little in white, I hope you can see. I'll read it for you. Sky, every cloud that comes in, it tries to hold, it encompasses every cloud that is there, but it is always steady. The sky does not move, clouds only keep moving. So this is somewhat like the different problems that come into our lives. So whenever problems come in, they will come and go. We have to be steady at all times, and you have to stand rock steady to your values. That is, different people will come in, different problems come in, different worries come in, different difficulties come in. They are like the clouds. The sky doesn't move. Similarly, we should also not move. We should also see to it that all these moving problems and difficulties and even negativities that come in, they don't have an impact on our lives. Dattatreya says, this is one thing that I learned from the sky. Just as clouds come and pass away, still the sky never moves, it stands steady. I should also follow this path, follow this steadiness. I should also always be steady, irrespective of what is happening. So you see, there is nothing much to understand or even to explain. It's quite easy, but then the principles, even through everyday things what we get to learn, principles are very deep. Water. Dattatreya says, from water is pure. Everyone's thirst. You are a rich person, you are a poor person, you are a dog, you are an animal, you are a bird, whatever it is, or even you are a non-living thing, or for plants, mountains. Rain does not say, right, what is a mountain going to do with my water? I will shower only on living creatures. They will at least use me. It is going to shower everywhere, right? Or on the roadside, if it falls, what is going to happen? Only the road will become wet. Water goes waste. Why should I put in efforts? It doesn't think that way. It does not have discrimination at all. It is transparent. I have whatever I have, I should share it with everyone. So one can learn these qualities of not being partial, transparent and pure from water. That is, whatever I know, let me share it with everyone. Whatever I have, some good things I have, let me share it with others. You want to take it, you don't want to take it, that's the opposite person's choice. But we should not be discriminated. You can learn, I will teach you well, you are a dumb fellow, I will not teach you well. This discrimination should not be there. We should be equal. Whatever I know, let me share it. Whatever I have, let me give it, let me share it with others. Then it's the opposite person's choice. You want to accept, you accept. Like when water is there, when it is raining, plants, trees, human beings, we accept water, right? We use it. Whereas the mountains and roads, it just goes waste. It does not take the water. It's just after some time the water will anyway dry up. That's it. So that is their nature. So through such examples, what Dattatreya tries to say is, from our side, just as water, from one side it gives everything. It is transparent, it is pure, it provides, doesn't see what the opposite person will do. He just gives whatever it has, I should learn this quality of not being discriminate, impartial, very transparent and pure, and whatever I do, what the other person does, that is their choice. Because of them, I should not change my principles. Okay. Till here, is everyone following? Yes?
Yes, Rashmi, very
Okay.
nice.
What's number 5? Fire.
Ma'am, one question.
Yes.
When you showed the 24 gurus, you had 2 honeybees actually. Is that correct, or there are 2 honeybees?
There are 2 honeybees?
Yes.
One second, maybe that would be an error then. There are 2 honeybees. One second. So why the honeybee is repeated? Okay, let's see in the later part how it is coming. I think in the explanation it should be proper. Maybe this is an
I
error.
think one is honey collector and one is honey bear.
Yeah, one
These
should
I
be
know.
honey, I think, right? Yeah, that's what. So maybe that's an error. While printing, it would have been an error. Yeah. Okay, let's see. I think in explanation it is proper. I have gone through this. I think there I have mentioned honey only. Okay, let's see how it goes. Okay, third was fourth water we saw. Fifth is fire. So what Dattatreya learns from fire is fire. Now fire is considered to be a very sacred element, right? Very pure element. That's the reason why we do our different rituals and sacrifices, be it a marriage, be it a Griha Pravesha puja, be it a small puja at your houses, homa, or even for the Upanayana samskara. Fire is something. Or even for friendship, if you remember again the Ramayana reference, Rama and Sugriva, they took their friendship vow in the midst of fire, or the Agni Pariksha episode. So fire is considered to be a very pure element, and it is like a sakshi, like a proof. It says that if in front of fire I've taken a will or a promise, that should be kept permanently. So similarly, fire basically makes things, you can say, fit. Like fire is very much needed. It is like a prerequisite, the basis of everything that we do. Similarly, Dattatreya says to shape oneself or to mold oneself, the fire of learning or the fire of wisdom should always be there. Just as a fire is a basis for everything, it helps to purify things. Similarly, fire in the form of learning. So here basically he compares fire to learning or wisdom, and he says that if I transform this fire, that is fire, that's the urge to learn, urge to always keep learning, attain knowledge, get wisdom, I will always get the best in life. I will also serve as a basis. I will be able to purify myself. Now if you have knowledge, you can go anywhere, right? If a person is literate, be it basic education, or you have knowledge about things, anywhere anyone questions or we ourselves are confused about things, we will get ready answers. Otherwise now, I have heard from somewhere something, but I don't know properly. This itself, now say for example you go to an interview also, person, now it's not expected in an interview that you must answer everything, right? But still things if you don't know, how do we answer? Now most of you, if you have given an interview or maybe you spoke to people, or I ask you something, if you don't know an answer, directly we don't say, right, I don't know, we don't say that. We say no, I have not read about this much, I'll find out, I'll let you know. Something we tell like that, we cover up there. Maybe something we know related to that, we cover up an answer. So that is where we realize, after coming out, we realize, oh, I should have read about this, I should have known about this. So knowledge is something like that. There is an urge to keep learning, to keep knowing more. So this is something which I should learn. So Dattatreya says, just as a fire is used for making things pure, and that is considered to be makes things fit. Similarly, I should also always have this fire, have this urge of attaining knowledge and wisdom. Last one more we will see. Moon. Every day in the sky we see the moon. We see the different phases of the moon, right from the Amavasya till the full moon day. One fine day it is not to be seen, but the waxing, waning and everything, it is from the earth we can see it that way. But in reality nothing happens. Similarly, all these pleasure, pain, problems, all this that are there, everything happens only to the body. So a bit philosophical it gets, but still all the things that are there, they happen only to the body, based on the principles of the Gita, which Krishna tells to Arjuna also. Second chapter, Sankhya Yoga, he highlights, and also in few other chapters. And whatever is happening to your body, which is temporary. 100 years you are in this body, next birth you are going to go somewhere else, you don't know. So don't wail and don't, you can say, feel bad about things, because ultimately even if you attack your enemies today, you're just attacking their bodies, not their souls. So just as a moon also, you can, though in reality nothing is happening, still from the earth we feel. So like this, pleasures, problems also, they are all quite limited. When at that particular time it comes, we have to face them, but don't get too much into that, because always know the reality of things. So don't get carried away. Basically, to get carried away. Now, this is maybe in a philosophical way you can consider. In everyday life also you can apply it. How it is sometimes, some people, they come and tell us something. Maybe you look at something, we are influenced. Then after a few days we realize, oh, this is so useless. Simply I was going behind it. It was temporary, right? So therefore, not to be carried away by things, always knowing the reality of things is very, very important. So, like say for example, a small child also. When a child tells us something, like you see, as children, what do they play games also, right? Some games maybe they play with vessels or cars or something like that. In reality, they cannot ride a car, right? But still, the child, it just plays with the car. It has some cooking vessels also. In reality, the food is not there, but we also play with the child. We tell when the child is going to prepare something, we also show the action as if we are eating, we are drinking. It makes the child happy. So in reality, we know that nothing is there actually, we are just playing. But still we accept that as reality. That is, so from this what we get to learn is, through this example what I told you, is we know the reality, we should be aware rather of the reality. And at that particular time we have to experience it. Just as we know in reality food is not there in the play utensils that are there by the child, but still for the child's satisfaction at that time I do have to experience, so that the child is happy, I am also happy playing with the child. But then I must know, I should be aware of the reality. So if you say no, really you give me food in that would not be possible. For playtime, for fun, it is fine. Similarly here also, through the moon, Dattatreya says that everything in reality we must be aware. In reality nothing happens, there is no change that takes place. So similarly, pain, pleasure is also like that. Everything happens to the body. In reality, nothing happens to the soul. So you don't get carried away. Know your true nature. Okay. So with this, we will stop here. Time is up.